Hi there, everybody. I'm Jennifer Angel. Welcome to the week of October the 7th. Okay, unbelievable, isn't it? We're already in October. Okay, I'm going to be off camera for a little while, and I'm going to give you, it's called A Lot Happening This Week. I'm going to give you, a little overview of the week of October 7th, and then you can read the full report on the horoscope page at jenniferangel.com, okay? And also you'll be able to read your sun sign on there as well. So let's get started because there's a lot happening this week. All right. So first of all, on the 8th, Mercury in Libra will trine Jupiter in Gemini. Okay, so this really is going to promote optimistic communication. It just, makes it a very favorable time for collaboration, sharing ideas and concepts. However, there is an inclination also for very grand ideas. Okay, so which is great. I always like to, have big grand ideas because that's what the Jupiter does. It just helps us like put our energy right out there. Like, if it was possible, what would I do? Okay. However, you want to just be careful of over promising or just being totally unrealistic. And, when we're unrealistic, a lot of the time that comes into, okay, well, you can do this, but it may not eventuate like today or tomorrow. You got to plan it out and, get the steps and the process, put an action plan to it, and then you can go forward. Okay. So yeah, great trying for creativity and such. And the next trine, also on the 8th, Venus in Scorpio is going to trine Mars in Cancer. So this is a really favorable aspect between these two planets. And of course, the trine is like the path of least resistance. It's like opens up. And so you want to take notice of things that are happening and easy sort of path because it can just as easy just pass you by. Okay. So, but it's a very favorable aspect. It enhances like passion and emotional connection and also like a deep intimacy, that Scorpio just allows you to go sort of deeper and be authentic with your expressions of love and romance. So emotions may run high, so keep that in mind, which can also lead to possessiveness. And that's not a great, way to go. I mean, you can be caring, but not possessive. And so, it's like an intensity in relationships if boundaries are not respected. So this is the other thing about this. You want to just, make sure that you have your boundaries set. And first of all, you want to make sure what those boundaries are. And, if you're working with relationships, this is one of the things that I go through, if it's relevant to you in a chart reading or just in a coaching or astrological reading. Like, where are your boundaries? And this all shows up in your chart, which is always fascinates me what shows up in the chart. And I help you sort of just set your boundaries and help you just feel better about who you are rather than trying to be someone else. So if that appeals to you, then go to the site jenniferangel.com and just book a session with me, okay? But yeah, it's the energy does, promote healing in lots of different ways, and particularly through allowing yourself to be vulnerable. All right. Now, the next day on the 9th, because those first couple are happening on the 8th, we've got Jupiter is in Gemini. Okay, it's going to go retrograde. Now, this retrograde period does encourage, introspection, and just helps you to reassess you know, who you are, what you're doing, what you want to do, how you're going to get there. It's a reassessment of your beliefs, your values, your communication style, because it's in Gemini, which is the third house. It's the sign, it's the placement of communication. And it's going to help to promote us all just to reflect on ways that we share knowledge, and how we connect with each other. Okay. And I've been studying energy for so long, since I was around 16. I can pick somebody. I know how much different people need different levels of communication and connection and interaction. And I read that, very immediately with people. So you want to get to know how much interaction and connection that you want for yourself, okay, and then be able to judge that by other people as well, okay. So this is all part of what I do, in my it's not just astrology, it's like life. It's looking at you, how you show up for life, and what's important for you, and what your zodiac DNA, that zodiac blueprint, what it sort of says about you, and helps you just, get in touch with yourself, and more importantly, just to love and like and allow yourself to be who you are. Okay, I love that about astrology. So you want to be mindful, though, with the Gemini going retrograde, that, there's a tendency to overthink and to become a little bit critical, in that retrograde transit. And that can just lead to confusion, and just miscommunication in your interactions. So you want to be clear about how you communicate, and what you want to achieve, what you want the outcome of your communications and reactions to be. All right. Okay, so moving on to October the 11th, Pluto, which is in Capricorn, it's been retrograde. It's now going to go direct. Okay, now this is the last time it's going to be in Capricorn. All right, once it goes direct and enters back into Aquarius, that's going to be it. It's going to stay there for another 19, 20 years or so. And, as, Pluto just resumes in this direct motion, then you can experience just a surge in your ambition, because while it's in Capricorn, it's very ambitious. It's very powerful, okay? And it just promotes you to, confront the structures in your life that no longer serve you, and just be more mindful about that, and to be able to go, okay, that's not really serving me. So what am I going to do about it? And how can I change that? And of course, with changing any habit, it's very good just to replace it with a habit, and replace it with something that does serve you. Replace it with something that really empowers you, and just sits with your overall being better. So that this is a really, going direct during this period is going to be really good. It's not going to go back into Aquarius. Don't quote me on this, but I've written it down, but by memory I'm pretty sure it's the 19th of November. Okay, so this is a relatively short time that you have just to sort of focus on this Capricorn, this very powerful, ambitious Capricorn energy. The intensity of this shift can also lead to power struggles within yourself. It doesn't always have to be with someone else, but, because we do have a resistance to change, just part of the human being, okay? But the power struggles are generally, because it's in Capricorn, it's generally going to be related to areas of authority and responsibility. So if that comes up for you, then you want to look at that, and I'm going to help you sort of analyze that. If something like that is continually coming up for you, and we'll get to the bottom of it, and then we'll work on replacing that, and we'll see what else around that in your chart is affecting it as well. All right, so on the 13th, Mercury in Libra is going to square Pluto in Capricorn. Okay, now the square traditionally is a challenging aspect, and as such, you can encounter like some confrontations, power struggles. Pluto is all about power. Capricorn's a very strong sign, and in regarding relationships and once again authority. Okay, so but it can also lead to greater understanding of what's going on. And so if things keep coming up for you in any area of your life, because of course what I'm doing here is giving you the vibrational energy of the interaction between the planets, then of course it's going to have a meaning as it sits in your solar chart, your sun sign, and then it's going to have a deeper, more accurate meaning when it's related to your personal chart, your birth chart, and that's where the real work. Now, I hear some of you saying, but I don't know my birth time. Don't worry about that, because it's always great to have the birth time, because it does give an added sort of layer to the horoscope and the session, the reading, but we can go ahead and it's still going to have the interactions within your chart. So we can go ahead and still do a session without that. Sometimes if if you get like an idea of, well, it's between that couple of hours, then I can work it out for you, So the closer to get to the time, of course, is the better, but we can go ahead without it. All right. So, so you can get like, as I said, if these are it's highlighted for you, then, we can dive deeper into what's causing it. What are the underlying issues? Sometimes those underlying issues can be karmic. Sometimes they can be from this life. Sometimes they can come through from past life, and certainly they can come through from childhood. So the astrological chart just helps you get in touch with that more. And once because here's the thing, and Mary Morrissey always says it best, I think, and she says, the first step is noticing. And quite true, because, if you don't notice, then you can't do anything about it, okay? And that's part of my work that I do as a mind, body, and soul alignment coach and professional astrologer, is get down to the underlying issues, okay? So, during this time, it's important just to remain just clear and honest in your communications. And if you can do that, then you've got a greater chance of avoiding any conflict, because remember, the square is challenging. And as we know, often it's the challenges in life that we get the greatest sort of return, the greatest benefit on. Okay, we just don't always want to deal with it. And sometimes you're not in a position to deal with challenges. There's too much else going on in your life. So sometimes it can just simply be about timing, right? Okay, let's move on. October the 13th is a bit happening on here. So another couple of aspects on October the 13th. This one is Mercury. It's in Libra, and it's going to make its way transit out of Libra and into Scorpio. So communication becomes, much deeper in Scorpio, and it invites you just to explore, any hidden truths, like, any secrets. And, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and it just helps you. It's such a powerful energy, just helps you to get down deeper and say, where does that come from? Just like I was just discussing, like, where does that come from? Where did I learn that? How can I unlearn it? How can I review it, replace it? And, in that sense, it just helps with, you can have more depth in your conversations and gain a greater understanding and clarity in your relationships, more importantly, okay, because we all want that, right? So, it's essential just to approach these sensitive topics with, a lot of care, diplomacy and tact. Like, don't rush in with, with the Mars energy. Don't rush in and being impulsive. Like, be kind to yourself, step back, think it through, okay? And also on the 13th, the last aspect for the week is, with the sun in Libra is going to trine Jupiter in Gemini. I love this. Very harmonious. It's going to build optimism. It's going to build like expansion in your social interactions. It's a great time for networking, great time for building relationships. And so, while the energy is positive, you want to be mindful of just overextending yourself, because Libra loves to be social, and Libra just loves people. Gemini loves to be social too. So you want to be careful of spreading yourself too thin and just balance out. I always say, you can do everything and anything in life, well, almost, but not all at once. Okay. So, balance is the key here, just to making the most of this, very exciting period. It's a very exciting week. And we've got as I often say, you get layers and layers of vibratory energy. And sometimes, even though they come from different areas, it sort of supports it. And I see that happening again, this week. So, this week, just to wrap up, is, just marked by a very dynamic blend of harmonious and challenging aspects, which is just going to cover, allow us to sort of deal with things if we're ready, and just go deeper with our reflection and deeper with our communication, first within ourselves and then with others. So, as Mercury, just to recap, as Mercury in Libra forms a trine with Jupiter in Gemini, and the sun does the same with, with the trine. It's a very optimistic, and it's just expanded social connections are really favored during this time. Excellent time for networking, excellent time for collaboration. Meanwhile, with Venus in Scorpio going to trining Mars in Cancer, this is going to promote emotional bonds and just creativity, and just like the Mars is like action. Let's get going, because, as I say, everything comes from thought, but thought alone is generally stays as thought. So you've got to put that action, and that's where that Mars is really, good and useful. Okay. And, while Jupiter is retrograde, it does invite you to just reassess your beliefs, your values, and your growth strategies, your self-development. And Pluto's direct motion is just going to urge you just to confront any power dynamics that are going on in your life. Like, where does it come from? Am I learning from it? Where have I done it? And then we can look at just reframing that, review it, reframe it, and move on with a new situation and habits that really serve you better. Okay. And then there's the square between Mercury and Pluto. That's going to, bring a little tension in conversations. It can require a little bit of navigation if it's a sensitive topic. And finally, Mercury, when it's transitioning into Scorpio, you can expect communication to take on a more profound sort of tone, and just it helps to enhance your ability just to dive deeper into your truths, and then set boundaries so you don't allow other people who are not serving you well to enter your sphere. Okay. So overall, this week does present a very rich tapestry of opportunities, and there's lots of growth, understanding, self-discovery. And this is all in the midst of the complexity of relationship dynamics. So, yeah. In my mind, that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn, to grow, evolve. And how do we do that? We do that through relationships. And first through the relationship we have with ourselves, which, I feel is very, very important. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about astrology, because it does highlight to you who you are, what your life purpose is, how you relate, and it does help to deepen and give you more clarity about the relationship you have with yourself. And I have a strong belief that the more that you can know and love and accept and understand yourself, the more that you can love, know, accept, and understand others. Okay, so that's the blessing there. So if that appeals to you, then go along to JenniferAngel.com and just book a session with me. We'll let you you'll let me know, I'll ask you to let me know what your main areas that you're focusing on. Sometimes I'll ask for questions and not too much information, because what I do is I take your questions, I look at the chart, I do some prep work, and I do a meditation just before the session. I bring in my guides. I have 5 main guides, other guides as well. I ask them all to come in. I ask your guides to come in, and I get answers to those questions. So it never ceases to amaze me, the answers that come through. So as I said, if that's something that appeals to you and you think I can help you in that way, then please go ahead and just book a session with me, okay? All right, so have a great week, everybody, and love, luck, and wealth, health, and happiness, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.